What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from TheQuartering, and the video game world has been pretty insane today. However, I do have some great happy news for you. If you've been following me on Twitter at TheQuartering, one word, you know that Indy went in for some cancer removal surgery this morning. I've been up all night because I didn't want to oversleep it. I just got home with him about an hour ago, and it looks like everything went well. He's set now for about 3 weeks of recovery time, and he will then be able to jump back in the pool and enjoy hopefully another year or two of a good tread left on the doggo. So one like equals one doggy head pat from you. Thank you for all of your kind words and words of support today on social media. So we have an obsessed fan, gaming journalist, video game journalist, who continues to speak ill of YongYea, CleanPrinceGaming, and TheQuartering. My guess is because this person gets clicks when we respond. So I'm going to be very, 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 very clear. The archived link of the article, if you must, is linked in the description below. The quality of writing, in my opinion, is suboptimal. The intellect is suboptimal, and the article is full of reaches and lies. So I don't know why you would bother, but I'm asking, let's not reward this behavior. I'm always going to respond to morons because it's easy and it's fun and we get to laugh together, but I don't want to pay them off with clicks. So GG never disappeared. It merely changed face. Now, this person has written an unending number of articles that are exactly the same thing. Pick semi-popular gaming YouTuber or commentator, and then assert that they are, even though they weren't around during the era that GG was a thing, apparently we are all a part of it, even though neither CleanPrinceGaming nor YongYea has any known affiliations. We're not making videos at that time, at least I can say for me. No matter what I say, these idiots will keep writing that because it gets clicks. It has confirmation bias for certain people. But you can just check the record. I wasn't around. I wasn't around during that time. I don't even know all the deep lore of it. But what I can say is that if it's because I like to call out games journalists who have ethical problems, okay. If it's because I like to do my best in consumer advocacy for the gaming community, okay. But, I don't know. Isn't everybody then a part of GG? So he ends with a brief, ultra-biased look at what it was to understand why GG transcends its historical component, and why current attempts of GGers to distance themselves from the legacy of the movement is even a thing. We must look at the fraudulent beginnings of it all. And specifically, why so much of the characterizes the movement's criticism of, quote, the other side could just as easily be applied to them when the tables are flipped. See, no, I couldn't, because I have never knowingly lied in my content to push a narrative that I believe will further my career. I've never knowingly given a video game a lower review score because arbitrary things didn't check all the boxes. I've never conversed with other games journalists behind the scenes in coordinated content. I don't tell other people what to publish. We don't talk about pushing a narrative. Now, see, these are all things that the games journalism community has been on record doing and been caught doing. So no, regardless of what direction you flip the table, there is only two sides. There's those that are gamers and want to do right by other gamers, and then there is the media. It's sad that it is this way. There are probably good members of the media. They're few and far between these days because they're all worried about likes and retweets, and when they're not worried about that, they're writing articles like this to bait gamers. Anyway, come August, they're talking about Zoe Quinn. Nobody cares. I mean, I have a funny video coming up about that, but nonetheless, again, Kotaku or 4chan. I don't even know how to use 4chan. These are all things that they're talking about. loosely associating with YongYea and CleanPrinceGaming and myself. I don't understand this. I think this is a knowingly bait. This is an article that, I don't even know how you could accuse YongYea of being anything other than a milquetoast video game journalist, because that's what he is. His ethics are above reproach. I enjoy his videos. I enjoy the videos when he gets a little spicier, a little emotional. But at the end of the day, you don't see this guy roasting games journalists. That for the most part, I mean, maybe he responds to the faux outrage over Cyberpunk, but for the most part, I don't know. And same thing with Clean Prince. Now, it's crucial to acknowledge that GG is an evolution of an already dormant sense of discontent with the state of modern gaming industry from gamers who feel excluded by the industry's rush to adopt more inclusive measures towards its players, its storytelling, and marketing facade it puts up in front of the rest of the entertainment industry as a token of its growth. Now, this is just incorrect. I mean, this guy doesn't understand. At least I can't speak for everyone. I can speak for myself, and this article clearly is referencing me, which we'll get to in a minute. No, I don't feel excluded in any way. This is a common misrepresentation of my content. When I make fun of companies for quote-unquote fake wokeness, it's because I see right through it. I see that it's just for retweets and marketing dollars, or at least, maybe I'm incorrect. It's entirely possible that I'm wrong, but that's my opinion. My opinion has never been that I don't feel represented, or I don't like that there's, a female couple dating in a video game. I don't care about that. I point and laugh at everyone acting like it's so important when it really isn't. And of course, that's just my opinion. But of course, this mischaracterizes me entirely. Now, there's at least partially merit to GG's notion of gaming industry. For a little while, only the voices of straight men were acknowledged as the main creative state. Disagree. The women's inclusion in the medium was only conditioned on the notion that their bobs be universally sculpted to the male gaze's utmost desire. This guy has a real problem with stating facts, but then not stating opinions as fact, but then not giving any examples. Like, are you going to use the Lara Croft example? Is there any evidence that she had to have the chest that she did? What about all the females in Nintendo DS games that are not shaped like that? This is just, what about Princess Peach? One of the most popular Mario Kart characters. There's an unending number of characters that I don't think are overly front heavy or rear heavy. They're just normal, plain looking characters like anybody else. That's what I would call giving examples, but this hack author blogger has no idea what that looks like. This is just him baiting because no one reads the articles anyway, but see, we're going to read it on archive, or we're going to just stay here and laugh. So it's not going to work for me. And if anybody else here is prone to wanting to link this stuff, remember to archive it. We can't reward this bad behavior. They were treated as objects and cattle for gamers to salivate over, for male developers to exert dominance over, even though there's a great crowd of female and otherwise female presenting players who'd absolutely love to have gotten an iota of a whiff of what male gamers were accustomed to. That's just baloney. Again, I talked about, could there be more females in video games? Sure. I don't have a problem with that. But there seems to be this notion of a demand for it when it seems artificial to me. It seems to me that men will play a video game if it's good, if it has a female protagonist or a male protagonist. I mean, look at what the Resident Evil remake did. You could play with a male or a female, and I'm sure people played as both. I don't think that it's going through a lot of purchasers' minds who the protagonist is in the video game. It's just whether or not it's a good game. I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't people out there that think like that, but they're an extraordinarily small percentage. So we'll get to where he talks about YongYea. It's a Gundam now. Geeks and Gamers, the Act Man, Legacy Killer HD, the Effective GG, as well as its perpetrators, are two distinct entities. When YouTubers, such as I just mentioned, plus a plethora, far too many to fully recount, present their concerns, yeah, it's not like you didn't have all the time in the world, so, you know, you could have just added another sentence, but that's okay. It's usually done so in a veil of professionality and virtue signaling. Are you crazy? I'm not sure. I mean, I could speak only of myself. I don't think I present these videos in a quote-unquote professional manner. Gundam talks over gameplay. Legacy Killer and YongYea are just talking at a webcam. These are not high production volumes. Geeks and Gamers, same thing. So I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Since there's an unspoken contract between these content creators and their audience for them to continue delivering on the news in a tone that is a la faux condescending, but also demeaning of their behavior. I don't have any agreement, spoken or unspoken, with any of these content creators. In fact, I've never spoken to YongYea. I've maybe exchanged one sentence ever with It's a Gundam. Geeks and Gamers, I don't think I've ever talked to, maybe briefly on a live stream. It's the Act Man, never heard of that channel. Legacy Killer, I think we talked when the CNET piece came out, but everyone just makes the content that they want. See, we're not like you. We don't collude with other content creators. We try to have our own takes. So it's quite easy to see why few of them afford the leeway to even express remote approval of what gaming journalists do. No, I believe that real gaming journalists do good work. I just believe that there's hardly any of them. That essentially makes GG adjacent YouTubers a lobbying body whose donors can pull out at any moment when their ends aren't met. They're independent in the sense that there's no editorial bottom line is at play, but their opinions are fully within their viewers' control as dictated by their financial dependency on them. This is probably the most inflammatory sentence written here. The implication is they only do it for money. That's what this implication is, right? They're saying, well, they're only saying what they think their audience wants to hear because otherwise it will turn off the money. This is unprovable. This is ridiculous. This is 100% steaming on the front lawn for a week. White, crusty dog turds. You know, I guess I can't speak to my other creators, but I can tell you that with my content, I make the content that I want to make. Do I cover things that I think my viewers would be interested in? Of course. But it does not sway my opinion in any way whatsoever. I've defended people from across the aisle. I've defended people that I think my viewers dislike. It doesn't matter. I'm 100% authentic, and it has nothing to do with what my audience chooses to send my way via subscribestar.com/TheQuartering or in live streams, because I know why they view me, because they want me to be authentic and truthful. Something that this person is it's clearly foreign to them. Now, when anyone shows resistance to what these GG figureheads are doing, YongYea and CleanPrinceGaming, by the way, they're instantly dubbed a journalist or part of a greater conspiracy, even when they're not. No, I dub most of these people journalists. You know this. You also know that I also refer to people like you as bloggers, because you have no real credentials and you publish blogs on a website that publicly anyone can. Watch CleanPrinceGaming's video about a story I did on the disproportionate backlash towards Cyberpunk 2077 criticism, and you'll see reverberations of that upheld ideal echoing throughout of it. Of course, he lists none of them. What are the concerns? Well, they're not that dissimilar from GG had originally intended. It's that it can afford itself enough leeway to not call itself a part of GG. I wasn't even around during it. I don't need to separate myself from something that there's literally no historical evidence of me interacting with. And as far as I'm concerned, YongYea and CleanPrinceGaming as well. All right? I know who the players were during that time period. It was none of us. I wasn't making video game related content then. I was talking about Magic the Gathering. Modern GGers try to trap that interpretation of the movement in the past, so their actions, even when perfectly aligned with the tenets of the movement, cannot be judged on its merits. Okay, so everyone drinks water, right? This is that same guilt by association. Because people in GG at one time said that, you know, they want ethics in journalism, anybody who wants ethical journalists are a part of that movement. That is just a fallacy in its purest form. That is low IQ, guilt by association. And then later on, to go on to specifically a paragraph associated to me. In Cyberpunk's case, the story initially posted by RPS hadn't gained much traction outside of some quiet, insular circles before it had been picked up by the collective of fearmongers on YouTubers. Again, he doesn't know this. He doesn't know what their analytics are. So, again, it's just a statement, like most of this article, not factually based. The same thing happened to my own piece. When I initially reported on the harassment campaign against GameSpot Reviews editor Callie Plague, again, it wasn't a campaign. Sorry, this is another article. This guy is obsessed with me. He's written 3 articles about me. It's really sad. But as long as he keeps spewing this stuff, I'm going to keep farming him for money. And we're all going to continue to laugh at him. And we're not going to send any traffic to his articles. So I'm game as long as he is. But of course I went out of my way to tell people not to contact editor Callie Plague. I simply pointed out that it was my assertion that based on what she had said on her personal Twitter about Days Gone, that I felt her score was artificially lowered by that. Maybe I was wrong, but I certainly didn't tell anyone to contact her. The story had only been read a few hundred times until it blew up following TheQuartering's commentary on it. So now we know why you're writing this. Essentially, it happens. It's GG adjacent content creators, especially on YouTube, see an errant article that doesn't fit their narrative. They publicize it whilst making it seem like its reach was already huge by the time they cover it. Oh no, I'm being very clear that nobody reads this junk. I'm laughing at you. We're laughing at you. Everybody that's liked this video and commented on this video, we're all laughing at you. We don't think you have any reach. That's the difference. If you were relevant, you wouldn't be publishing your blogs to a website that lets anyone publish to them. You would spend the $8 to have your own domain name, maybe. You might have a relevant Twitter following of more than 35 people, but you're not relevant. But that doesn't mean we can't laugh, and that doesn't mean I can't. I mean, this is what I'm good at. I'm good at seeing through, cutting through the bologna sausage, the liverwurst, you might say, and laying things out. This is what people like in my content. So when anybody of any size decides to write lies about me, it gets sent to me, and people ask me to respond to it because it's funny. Anyway. Then they're subsequently ostracized those who dare criticize their tactics, even when they know full well the backlash is immensely disproportionate to the subject critique more often than not. I asked an ex-GGer for who the purposes for their own safety will be remain unnamed. Yeah, I'm sure. But whether we live in a post-GG world, oh my God, these people never got over it. Nobody cares about that time anymore. It's at best a desperate clickbait tactic from irrelevant bloggers. Anybody who watches my channel knows I wasn't around during that time. I wasn't producing content. And for that matter, I don't believe YongYea or CleanPrinceGaming were either. And I would be shocked if they were producing videos on Zoe Quinn like 5 years ago, whenever it was, 2014, 15. So this article is just baseless, libelous, because we know there is a negative connotation. You know, I showed on Twitter that, you know, people still trying to contact Dollar Shave Club, you know, and get me my sponsorship removed from them. People will send this article. You wrote this article knowing full well that it's full of lies, and you featured prominently my picture in the top, which doesn't load because it's an archive, but you can still see that he's got it listed here. And CleanPrinceGaming. Pathetic. I hope you enjoyed this video, though. We'll talk to you again real soon.